All right, are we ready to get started?
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. Woohoo! All right, let's just open in prayer real quick. Father God, we thank you that you are in our midst, and Father, you care about every aspect of what we do. So God, I just pray that you would open our hearts and our ears, that you would give us insight as to the plans you have for each individual here in our churches that we serve. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so just by show of hands, how many are in this room because you absolutely adore social media and you cannot get enough of it?
I'm not sure, so I can lie.
Anybody? Yeah, most of us are not the most comfortable with social media, and I think I heard this back table say that some of the congregations feel like Facebook is of the devil, correct? Like it is really tough to know how to utilize something that is so broad and it's out there like it is. So we just want to talk a little bit about that. Before we do that, I just want to introduce Ken and I. We are missionaries with Rural Compassion. If you've heard of Rural Compassion, it used to be connected to Convoy of Hope. So they did a lot of these trainings where they would bring supplies and really equip you to pass them out in your communities and figure out how you can have a presence through that. So that's the same Rural Compassion. Steve Donaldson's the founder. And our goal is to encourage, strengthen, and empower small and rural churches to work outside their four walls to address the needs of their surrounding communities. And so that's really what Ken and I do. We are missionaries on the East Coast. Most of our folks are in Springfield. We have a couple on the West Coast, but we're the only ones on the East Coast. And our whole heart is to come alongside you guys as rural pastors and small church pastors to help you with whatever vision God has given you. If we can be a help, that's exactly what we want to do. And so that's why we're talking about social media and technology, because while I am not gifted in that area at all, Ken is. And so we actually have helped quite a few churches just try and get some ideas for what they're doing and what they could be doing better. So hopefully that's why you're here. And as I was thinking about this concept, I was thinking about biblical importance. How do we tie these two things together? And it was the well that came to mind. So in biblical times, the well had significant social importance as a central gathering place where people would go to collect water, making it a spot for social interactions, a place to encounter others from their community, right? So that's what the well was for. It's where you would go. 100% of homes in those areas would have to go to the well to get water. They would have to go get that. And so what I love about this imagery is Jesus and the Samaritan woman in chapter 4 of John, right? We see Jesus going out of his way to meet this woman at the place that she would be at, right? To meet her right where she's at. The disciples were not comfortable with it, we know that. And still, that's where he met the Samaritan woman. And not only was her life changed, but who else was changed? Everyone, right? Everyone, because of that one interaction between the two. So the modern day well to me is the internet and social media. Just to give you some statistics, 95% of US homes have computers. 90% have broadband internet. 90% of adults have smartphones, not only cell phones, but smartphones. There's 2.5 hours per day is the average on social media. And I know we can argue one way or the other. I don't like the trend, but the reality is people are spending 2.5 hours on social media. And then 1.17 million people who aren't regular churchgoers visit church websites each year. That's amazing to me. It used to be if you wanted to check out a church, you would drive by, you'd make an attempt to go 1 or 2 times. Not anymore. And most of us are not going to go to an establishment that we've never been to unless we do what? We do some research, right? We look them up. We make a judgment on that. So that's really what we're going to address in 3 different areas. And like I said, this is not my strength, but my IT guy, Ken, is going to walk us through. You never want to call me if you have a technical question. You will be more confused at the end of it than you were at the beginning of it. But luckily, he's who I call. See, case in point.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Ken, and it is really an honor to be here today presenting this to you guys, and it's a blessing. And so I want to follow up with the direction we're going, and it's more of the class is called Social Media Made Easy, but it's really an online presence made easy, and we're combining social media into that. So who here is young enough to remember the yellow pages, right? We'd open them up, we'd start looking for, I'm a visual person, so I would always go for the prettiest ad, who has the best graphics, and I would actually just sit there like in spare time looking, at the yellow pages, just checking out everybody's ads, and that's, I don't know why, but I enjoyed it. So nowadays, we don't have the yellow pages. They stopped printing them in 2019. So the yellow pages are no longer available for anybody. And so what do we do? To get our presence known, we have to go online. And we want to make it simple for people. So we're going to talk about static websites. Static website is the same as a non-static website. You just don't do anything with it once you get it started. And so the whole idea is so a static website is good. On a static website, we want to make sure, I lost my place, are often used, okay, go to the next slide for me, sorry. Yeah, so we're going to play this short video real fast for you.
I asked you all on Instagram, what are your church website red flags? And the number one response was stock photos. And you know what? I am so proud of everyone that gave that answer because it is 100% correct. Really, your church's website has 3 responsibilities in this order: inspiration, information, and invitation. You saw Kyle and I working on that makeover before, trying to figure out what photo we were going to put at the very top of that church's site. Why? Because we can communicate in an instant with a photo what would take paragraphs worth of text. In fact, Google has research on this that they've published, demonstrating that in 0.05 seconds, visitors are forming opinions about your website. Well, what elements on the site are informing that opinion? Not text, not in that short of a time, it's the visuals. And so we have a very simple philosophy when we're building church sites that I continue to emphasize to the team: show, don't tell. As a matter of fact, Alex, can you bring me that foam board? Nice. So this is a demo church website that we built using our software Nucleus. Of course, it's not a real site, it's a foam board version of it. But if you recall, our church website's 3 responsibilities: inspiration, information, and invitation. When you look at this hero section at the top of the site, where is your eye drawn to first? Well, the smiling person, of course. That's inspiration. Next, we have our big introductory headline. That's information. And then finally, our primary call to action buttons. That's invitation. Let me tell you about one of the crazier bits of research I ever came across. It was from researchers at University College London. And what they found was, by adding photos of smiling people to websites that had low trust, just by doing that, they were able to increase the trustworthiness of that platform. So how does that apply to church websites? Well, if we think about the state of institutions right now, we know that trust in institutions, churches included, is at a 50-year low, basically. So when someone comes to your site, their guard is up. How do we begin building trust with those first new visitors? All we have to do is add photos of smiling people from our church to the site.
All right, isn't that amazing? 0.05 seconds, people are already just judging your church. So I want to jump back to that, and I want to kind of step back for just a minute as why do we want a static website? Because static websites, they do cost money, but social media is not, you don't own your Facebook page. You know, it's all controlled by Meta, which is Facebook, and it's a company. And so if they don't like what you put on it, they could block you, they could stop you, they could the algorithms change and things happen. So it's important to have a static website that people could go to get the information that they need to go to your church. Important things to have on your static website is your location. We've been to a lot of websites during our research here, and it is very difficult to find directions to people's churches. I mean, I had to search and search and search, and sometimes it's just very small down at the bottom of the website. I would suggest putting the directions somewhere where it's visible, it's easy to see, and maybe like embed a Google Maps link to it. So that way when they click on it, even if they're on their smartphone, it's going to give them directions straight to their church, and they're going to know, hey, it's going to take me 25, 30 minutes to get here. So that's important to make sure that you have that in a visible location. And to also have your service times. I visited many church websites, and it's difficult to actually find service times. So that's another important aspect to have on it. And this Pro Church Tools, they're an amazing organization. Their Facebook page, and their YouTube page are full of information to help you more than what we can give you. We're just kind of giving you the basics, but we'll give you some more information on them later. But one thing is they tell you to stay away from, and they've done research on it, is stock photos. And people know stock photos when they see stock photos. So it's very important to have photos of people actually of your church, in your church. And you could just, they don't have to be fancy. They can be taken on your cell phone. Always remember, though, what you're taking the picture for, the way you hold your camera. So if it's going to be like a wide shot like this for your website, you want to hold it horizontal. And if you're going to do like a social media post, you want to hold it vertical. That way, so you'll fill the frame up, and you don't have to zoom in and lower the quality and lose content in your photo. So make sure you're holding your camera the right way. Next page. So here's an example. Doing our research, I thought I would just check out. We attend Chapel Spring Church in Bristow, so I'm like, what does our website look like? Are they doing what the research we're finding is doing? And actually, we have our worship pastor Josh there. He's smiling, and then we have a missions week, and they have a picture of him smiling, and then we have the follow-up, and so I think we're doing pretty good there, and I think that's a good example of how to set up your page. Does anybody here already have a web page or set a web page up? So I like to use Wix. It's a very easy program, and it's like drag and drop. So you open Wix, and they'll give you hundreds of templates that you can choose from, however you want your website to look. You could even have them, through their AI, you could type, it'll show you, have us build your website, and they will actually, they'll ask you, William, what are you building your website for? It's a church, it's a religious organization, what do you want to show in it? And they'll actually build the website for you. And then you could actually just pick and choose and put your own photos in the places where they have photos. So it's quite easy. The next slide. So for the average basic website with your domain, it's $9 a month through them. And then you can go up higher depending on what you want to do with your website. But if it's just a static website, you're really not changing a lot there. You don't want to do a lot with it. You just want it there for basic information. And so we have one, and we just use the basic because most of our Facebook posts, we use social media more than we use our website, but we have it there for information. Another website is GoDaddy. They've been around for a long time. They're pretty much just like Wix. Go next. So this is what their page looks like. They offer many tools. Their prices are really good. Their light one is $17 a month, and they'll give you a free domain name for a year. So that's a good way, a good trial. You know, hey, is this going to work? Do I like this? And then if you want to do more, you could ramp up your subscription. All right, next slide. Social media, right? Is it evil? Probably. You know, yes and no, but you know, it has a stigma to it. You know, I don't want to be on social media. They'll kick me off. It's evil. There's just so much bad on it, and all of that is true. But we're called to go into these places. You know, we're called to go into the dark places. We're called to go where we're not. So we want to have that online presence. And we'll go into some so over 1 billion people per month use Google Maps. And so we'll get into that a little later. 100 million people use Apple Maps every month. 3 billion people use Facebook every month. And 2 billion use Instagram every month. And 122 million people use YouTube every month. And that is a lot of people. My wife and I and my daughter, we almost watch YouTube shows more than we do. I mean, we have subscriptions, but we actually watch YouTube more than we watch those. So Google Maps. I want to talk about Google Maps because I find it very important for your online presence. When Jenna and I became missionaries, and so I started looking up rural churches, specifically our denomination at first, and I went through different districts, and come to find out it was very difficult to even find churches because they were not listed on Google Maps. So you can't, where are they? And a lot of people these days, they do their searches, and I'm one of them. I will search through Google Maps before I search anywhere else, because I know it knows where I'm at, and it knows where the closest church is or hardware store or whatever. So in whatever area you want to look at, I'll do Google Maps. So if we're going to McDowell County and I want to know where some churches are in McDowell County, I'll put my map over there and do my search there, and it'll bring up all the AG churches or whatever church I'm looking for in that county. But if you're not listed on Google Maps, you're not going to show up, and then people can't find you. So 1 million people use Google Maps every day to find local businesses, including churches. Google Maps is a popular online mapping service. Over 5.6 billion searches per day. And that's just staggering, you know, when you think about it. All right, next one. That's it. Oh, that's funny. I can tell a change. Okay, churches can benefit by having a strong online presence in Google Maps to reach people in their communities when someone searches for a church nearby. And that's what I was alluding to just a minute ago. Kind of got ahead of myself. Next. So this is a little church we've been working with down in McDowell County, out in Raysale Holler, and you can see that it's the little red dot right there in the middle of nowhere, and it's 3 miles back in a holler, and we started doing some reconstruction work on the church and revitalizing and trying to find just to reach the community. And so the church wasn't listed anywhere because it's an old church. You know, it's way back. You're only going to get there if you walk there. You're not going to know about it. And since putting their church online, and these are some other churches that we've worked with, Ray of Hope and New Hope Assembly out in Logan, and So that little church has received 1,807 views just by putting it on Google Maps. And Ray of Hope has 1,700. And that church we only put on there like a year ago. And all these churches are really in the middle of nowhere. And New Hope Assembly of God is in Switzer, West Virginia. It's not really Logan. And if you blink, it's gone. But they've had over 2,000 views so far. So you can see the importance of Google Maps. And with Google Maps, what's really good about them is when you put your church into the location, and it'll walk you through the instructions. So you would click on your church where your property is, and you could hit Add Location. And then when you hit Add Location, you put in all your church's information, almost like you would a website. You put in your service times, you put in your phone number, you put your website in, you add a picture of the outside, add pictures of people of your congregation smiling, and that way when people do a search, all that information will come up and it'll even have your website linked to it so they can see, hey, this church is right by my house. Hey, look at all these people at it. I know what it looks like visually, so when I drive by, I can say, hey, that's the church. And then they can click on your website and even get more information if needed. And it's free. It doesn't cost anything. All the social media that we're going to showing you, like my wife said, is free. It doesn't cost you anything. The only thing that will cost you is the static website. Apple Maps is the same as Google Maps. It's just through Apple. They don't have as many views, but I would say add your site to them too, because I'm an Apple guy. I won't get into that because I know people have hard feelings. But pretty much it works the same as Google Maps does. And I would suggest putting your information in both of those places. So when people are looking, they will find it. So Facebook, how many here are on Facebook or have a Facebook page, right? What about a church page? All right, awesome. So Facebook, it's free, and we just want to talk a little bit about it. So when you have your Facebook, do you have your Facebook page as a page or as a group? So there's different, because you can have it where it's locked, so the community can't see it or they have to ask to join. You want to make sure if it's a group or if it's a page that it's freely open to people to see it and to join it. This is our Facebook page, and we just have our basic information down there, our phone numbers. On the left-hand side, you can list all your important details and make your posts. So connecting with a new existing member. So Facebook can be a great way for a church to connect with new and exciting members, build connections with people outside their weekly service, share, encourage content, spread love of Jesus by sharing scripture and other content. Yeah, I'm not a good reader, so. Some tips, create a Facebook group. And like I said, if you're gonna create the group, please make sure it's open, unless you want it to be something specifically for like a private prayer group. Things that you want to keep within the church. I would keep that one to yourselves, and to where they have to be invited to be a part of it. Make sure you connect it to your website. Respond to comments and avoid too much automation. So when it comes to Facebook, we really like to stress, don't make it political. Please don't, because we're here to spread Jesus in the kingdom and any political party. And then that'll also cause divides within your community in which you're trying to be a part of. So we always suggest please don't use any political posts.
Just skip the vanity URL for your Facebook page. What is the vanity URL? The vanity.
Right. I did that. I'll get back. I forgot what that is. We are not pros at this. We are novice. Sorry. Actually, I meant to take that one out.
It gives you the flexibility to give your own title, if you will. It's not just a bunch of digits and numbers.
Yes.
It just gives you the flexibility to make something that is meaningful for the church.
There you go. Thank you, my wife. Instagram. So most older people our age are on Facebook. The younger generation, 30 and under, use Instagram, okay? And Snapchat, and we're not going to go through all those other formats because it's just too much to take on this morning. But it's the same. It's visual media. Instagram is more for photos and quick little blurbs than it is for huge stories. But we suggest, and you kind of set it up the same as a Facebook page. And so with using social media and Instagram, it's always about trying to connect with our community. And so while using these tools, has anyone ever created an event page? So you can go on, if there's something happening in your community, you can post it as an event, and then it's shared on Facebook's event page. So when someone wants to say, hey, what's happening in my community, they'll go on and it'll list all the events that are happening in their community. And I might also just suggest that even on your Facebook page, even if it's not your event, but you know it's an event taking place in the community that you think your people would like, go ahead and post that event on your Facebook page, because it's showing that you're engaged in your community and you want to be a part of what's happening. So has anyone used Meta Business yet? So Meta Business is very, I think is very important, because through Meta Business, it merges your Facebook account and your Instagram account. And it gives you, so it's almost like it gives you better ability. You could actually schedule posts. So we don't want to burden you with more stuff and all these things to do. You could actually sit down on a Sunday evening, schedule posts throughout the week, and it'll be done, and it'll be scheduled, and it'll actually go to Facebook and it'll go to Instagram. And then you don't have to go to Facebook and do a post. Then you don't have to go copy it and go to Instagram and redo it. It'll take them to both. And then, so this is our kind of what the business Meta looks like. Next page. So that's them joining. And one of the things the Meta business account gives you, it'll tell you everything. Who's visiting your website, what posts are getting the most coverage, what post is getting the most clicks, where they're coming from. I even think it'll break it down between male and female. It'll give you a lot of information and help you decide which way you want to go on your post and what's working best for your community. So that's a wonderful tool to have. It's a good app. You could download it on your phone. It'll connect them both, or you can download it, or not download it actually. It's just a web page you could use. So sermon options. Huh?
Sermon options, just the fact that a lot of people use either Facebook Live
Yes.
as an option, which is great, easy to do. Another one that a lot of churches are using is YouTube, which is phenomenal. As you watch it, you see it. but we were just recently listening to a podcast by Carl Bader, which you guys are all familiar with, and he actually gave a good point for smaller churches. He said if your equipment isn't super refined, you may want to just do a really good microphone and do it as a podcast. That way, you're not having to worry about the sound quality, how it's going out over the internet, but you just know you have a good mic, you're capturing your sermon, and then you're posting that onto your website as a podcast. So we kind of like that idea.
Right.
You'll see different areas and how they're doing it. The other advantage to doing it that way and capturing it, having it as a podcast, is to make your life easier for social media. No one is expecting that you're going to be a social media influencer. We hope that's not the goal. It's really just to inspire and get the information out. And so if you take your sermon and you just take a couple of key points or key scriptures out of it and just remind people during the week, once or twice, hey, think about this question that went along with the sermon. Think about this scripture that went along with the sermon. You're staying relevant, you're staying engaged, but you're not having to recreate some kind of big social media thing. It's just what you've already put your time and effort into for your sermon on Sunday, and it's reminding people what you talked about. So that was it for sermon.
I actually had that farther down in my notes, so. All right. So has anyone here heard of TechSoup? TechSoup is a wonderful company. They help nonprofits, and you can get Adobe Suites for free through TechSoup. You can get discounts on other software, computer, security cameras. There's just a lot of stuff there that could be utilized. I was on it the other day, and they even had like Apple Watches for, I think it was Series 9 for $100-something. So there's a lot of things on TechSoup that you could use.
It's for nonprofits, but you do have to provide paperwork that
Yeah.
says you're
Right.
why I'm a nonprofit. But once you do that,
Right.
then you're open.
Yeah, and they do make it easy. There's a link they give you. It goes straight to the IRS. You put in your number. It'll give you the information. Then you could just transfer that over to TechSoup. Canva. Anyone here use Canva? All right, Canva is our friend. We love Canva, and Canva is free to nonprofits. And Canva is I mean, whether you're doing, we're talking about online, so whatever kind of post you want to make, they have a template for. Whatever you want. You want to do a VBS, or you want to talk about your Sunday service, you put it up in the search window, and it'll give you a list of options of types of posts you can make. Different graphics, you want it to look retro, you want it to look modern, or it'll give you tons of options that are also changeable once you select it. And what was I going to say?
It also will learn your habits
Yes.
and your style.
Yeah.
So once you start picking a few that work, it'll start suggesting those.
Right.
So it just eventually takes less and less time because it knows what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Right. Right. And it also has for flyers. It'll give you templates for flyers. All of that stuff is available through them, and so you can do it on the computer. You can download their software, and then it'll link it. You download the app on your phone. It'll link them through the cloud. So whatever you're working on your phone is also on your computer, and so you can access them either way. Like if you have to do a quick post. Does everyone here have a smartphone? Awesome. I love you guys. So, you make it on your smartphone real fast, or you forget about it and you can get it on your computer, but so it's in both places.
Their print prices are not bad either. To have
True.
them print things, whether it's your visitor card, invitation cards, their pricing for printing is not bad.
That's true. We have friends, they did their prayer cards through Canva and had them printed, and they looked out nice. The only thing is on those, you're limited to your size, but it was good. That's a great option to have. So we are Ken and Jenna Combs, and we are missionaries, and we are here to help you. And so we don't want this to be Another thing, like, oh, I got to take this on, I'm still confused, please give us a call, and we will, we can set up a time, come out to meet you, have coffee, we can build the website together, work on your social media. Just let us know. And even if you want to do it over a Zoom or FaceTime, we are available for that. And we just want to let you know that.
The only other thing I would say is, adding one more thing to your plates is a lot, I know that. But there's also a bunch of younger people that may really want to be part of this. And so if you give them just the ability to say, hey, can you take some photos at this event and at church? And would you mind helping with the social media component? That would probably be a really easy way. If you give them parameters that they can be a part of what you're doing, and you don't have to take that on as yet another thing to add to your list. So just to kind of delegate some of this.
And does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Ken, I got a list.
All right.
All right, so going on what you just said, I was just reading an article yesterday where if you wanted to hire a web guy, techno guy that knows the stuff, it's like $250 an hour. They suggested that you might look into students who are going to college, and you can pay them $20 an hour. For a couple hours a week, and I immediately thought of Chi Alpha. So if we had any Chi Alpha students who wants to earn a little extra money and make it affordable for the smaller church, I'm gonna call the Foundry, and I'm gonna find out if they have any Chi Alpha people.
Yes, they do.
Right.
That would like to take this on because I am not talented and it has fallen in my lap. The second question I wanted to ask is Google Maps. We are on Google Maps. How can you tell how many hits you get?
It'll tell you. You can. So, did you put yourself in Google Maps? Because Google Maps, if somebody else put it in, you're not going to be receiving that information. So if somebody else entered your church in, you're not going to be getting that same information. So you can go back and ask them, tell them that you're taking over this location, and have that changed. And that way you'll receive, I forget if it's monthly, they'll actually send you an email saying, hey, you have 5,000 views on this photo.
Well, I know
Or,
I didn't set it up, and
right.
I know it goes back a long time.
Yeah.
So is it like googlemaps.com or something?
Just type in Google Maps, and it'll pop up.
Changed over, she said.
I believe you have to click on the location, and then a little window will slide over, and it'll have some information on it. But I haven't done that in a long time. I only did that once. So I'll look into it, and since I have your email, I'll let you know.
Okay. The last question that I had when it comes to Facebook, occasionally I boost things.
Yes.
Is that a good thing? I haven't seen a whole lot of fruit from
Right.
boosting.
Some say yes. So does everyone, I wanted to mention that, but I forgot. Has anyone ever paid to boost have you had any success with it?
With our church, our lead pastor, Sylvia, she said that she could pay for boosting at one point, but it didn't really seem to make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
I think it depends what the event is. When we have had events like we do a holiday bazaar in November, our tech guy does pay to boost certain posts. But if you can get your people sharing the posts,
Right.
because the more you share it, someone else will see that, maybe they will share it. That gets the page visits, the traffic up, and that messes with the algorithm and changes how often your posts are going to get seen. So it may even take something like getting key leaders or just regular congregants, tell them, hey, when you see our post, can you share that?
Yeah,
Because of likes and shares and the stuff that
Right.
we don't want to do as personal ministers, but for to get the church information out there.
Yeah.
Also, you can get groups in your area, like
Right.
neighborhood groups. That's where we post a lot of stuff and get
Yeah.
a lot more feedback.
And I love watching her Facebook because she tells stories, and stories captivate people. So as much as you can say, hey, here's what the church is doing, but look at this story. You don't have to say people. You're really good at guarding the individual. But she will tell a story of what happened at whatever event. And to me, that's compelling. That's going to get that traction, and that's going to make people understand you're not just doing it for the sake
Right.
of doing it. There's a purpose.
Right. And thank you for saying that, because I did want to mention that, and I totally forgot. But so we do work in these rural communities. We work a lot down in McDowell County, and McDowell County is one of the poorest counties within the U.S. And they have, so even their little county, even like Bradshaw, I mean, they don't really have anything, but they all have community pages. And if you have your church page and you share things on all these community pages within your community, and you'll be surprised how many people will come out of the woodworks to attend the event. In that little church in the holler, we put it on all the community pages that we could find, and next thing you know, they're just showing up, and because they saw it on their community page.
So those community pages are basically a group within Facebook. So
Right.
your neighborhood that your church is in probably has that already, and you become a part of that, and then you can link to it. Does that make sense?
Question, how important, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think like church signage is out front like that? I know some of the electronic signs are pretty expensive, they're all over the place. What are your thoughts on that?
I have strong opinions.
I know. I think we both. I'm not a fan of electronic signs. That's just me personally. I do like just a traditional sign, but that's my opinion. My wife might have other opinions.
I could go either way, electronic versus traditional, but I will say, please make sure your sign is clean and maintained.
Right.
And doesn't have something from 2010 posted
Yes.
on it. If you're gonna do it, commit to keeping
Right.
it kept up, relevant, because it doesn't have to be high tech. You don't have to spend a lot of money on any of it. But to me, what you see on the outside is gonna be reflective of what you have on the inside. And so you want to, again, meet people where they're at. If they care enough to drive by your church and say, oh, I wonder what time service is on Sunday, it is your responsibility to make sure they can access that easily.
Right.
Does that make sense? That's why I have strong opinions, because
Right.
we've felt some where I'm like,
Right.
oh, that sign it's
Right.
probably original from 1970. I don't
Right.
think they ever changed it.
And this is me again. So in a rural community, you're like in some of the places we work it's dark, and there's this giant lit up sign that's lighting up the whole neighborhood, and so I have a pastor. He really wants to get a sign. I'm like, well, can you make sure it like turns off like at 9 or something, so that people could sleep, because it's pretty bright. But that's just me. Yeah. Did you? Yes.
I was just curious, on your personal side with your churches, with your like 1,500, 1,700 from your maps. Has the church itself, the little church, seen an increase at all in population or the church? Any change at all, or do you know?
They have that. The little church, when we started to come alongside the little church, it was they didn't have a pastor, or they had a pastor, but he drove over an hour, so he really wasn't there in the community in this holler. And so we kind of revitalized the church, and there was a new pastor there, and we just did their first VBS with them this summer. We had how many kids? Like 20 kids show up, and a lot of them were from social media. I can't say if the people who viewed it on Google Maps actually came, but the online presence has helped them. Because it sits so far back, if you didn't know it was there, you would never know it was there.
And a lot of the reason that we do that is just because we also want to give an easy, so we'll take missions team into these churches and they'll do work for a week. We also want to make it easy for them to stay connected so that when you come back to your church and wherever you're from, you have an easy way to watch and see what these little churches that you serve for
Right.
a week. It just helps maintain relationship.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons that we do it, just so we know they can watch
Right.
and see what they're doing because they were a part of that.
Yeah. And then,
Hopefully they'll come back and be a part of it.
yeah, and then when you put it in Google Maps, it also offers the opportunity to people who visit your church to leave photos, and they have the opportunity to rate their visit and rate their church.
And that's
So that's good
a hard place to be.
and bad, but it does give that opportunity for other people to say, hey, I went to so-and-so church, loved it, great pastor, good message, good people, and they might put a photo up. And so that's another way for people, when they look at it, they'll see, oh, look, all these people have already been here. They're enjoying it. Maybe I'll go try it. Yes?
Our church, we had a guy in our church that did our website for us, but it's like through WordPress.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and if we were to want to transfer over, because we post our sermons every week, we record it, we don't do them live, but we record them. We have YouTube, and we have Facebook, and I post them all through there on Sunday afternoons. But everything is kind of stored, and I'm trying to figure out how, if we wanted to go to something like a Wix, will that affect what we have right now? And how difficult would the transition be to something where I'm a little more, I'm not as tech savvy as
Right.
that's what he does for a living. And so when I get into WordPress, I'm like,
Yeah. Right.
I could change the wrong thing.
Right.
Use it forever.
You would have to change everything, because once you stop WordPress is done. I haven't worked with WordPress in a long time, so I don't know what the process would be. But if you want, we could research it together and find out a way in which that could be done.
History is more what I'm
Right. Yeah.
moving forward. It's not a big
So is it all on WordPress, or is it? I heard you mention YouTube and.
website. So
Uh-huh.
we have a .org that we go through, but I'm trying to figure out, I'm not sure, once the sermon's done, I'm assuming it's going to the website, the server, which is not WordPress.
Right.
It's only the template for the website itself, I believe, is WordPress that I have to update every week.
All right.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss that.
I
Please. Right.
Ionis is familiar with that. I think that's where our what do you want to call it, where our name,
Your domain.
through them, our domain name is through them.
Okay. Make sure we talk afterwards, and we'll work on that together. Is there any more questions?
How would you be able to tithe online?
That's a good question.
So similar to Wix and the other one that we showed you. And if you go to the Pro Church Tools, you guys have this resource page which has that link on there. They've got options for that. So that is going to cost a little bit more to do, but statistically, it probably makes sense. We just listened to something recently where they said only 27% of giving actually happens on a Sunday. So the rest of the week is actually where people are giving.
We switched to online giving with COVID. And all we have is a box in the back. We never take up an offering. All we do is we pray over it, and we have had the best givers.
So
Right.
And we have online.
have you seen an increase or did it stay the same?
It actually got better.
It got better.
Mm.
And who do you use for that platform? Do you know? Okay. There's like 3 that I know of that are very specific for churches. I believe Tithely is one, which is Tithe with the L-Y. I think the other one is Give something.
I think you just do it through the website.
Yes. Yeah, you can hook up, right, through your website. That's going to be different than the one that's on people's app. And,
Right.
so there are that Pro virtuals.com, they do that as well. They incorporate that into their website. That's an option that you can add to having your domain and all that through them.
If we use Zelle, and that's, so people will just give through Zelle, because then you don't have the fees and all of that.
Right.
And so couldn't we just list on our
Mhm.
website that Zelle
Yeah.
email and just continue to do that and not use the service?
You can. The only thing is you're going to limit people. They're going to have Zelle to give, where these other options, there's more flexibility to get broader giving. But yes, you can use that. We, for a long time, only used PayPal for us.
We use Surfkey for our church, which
Surfkey.
was we transitioned over when Logos got rid of their giving, which they did during COVID. And they got rid of that part of it, and they just automatically transfer us to there.
Okay.
What we found is we're receiving from people that are even out of state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and,
And probably because you have posted your sermons, right? So people are watching,
yeah.
whether it's live or after the fact. But
We have that too.
Yeah.
A lot of people that don't even go to the church.
that's amazing. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Could I also encourage that, if you haven't built a website, as people's tech savviness has increased, they don't want to have to click to find what they're looking for, like websites used to be.
Yeah.
When we came to the church that we're at now, we were looking at their website to see what this church was all about, and we just clicked forever and found all these different pages. And to get that simplified, the opening page, not so cluttered, not all these
Mhm.
fancy backgrounds, solid background, make the clicks easy to find, basic information. Because if people can't find it in a couple clicks, they're gone.
Yep.
Yes.
It's just like, fast food eating, it's fast tech, and if I can't find it now, on to the next thing, and you lose that.
Yep.
And
So
I am
it
just
really-
as guilty.
Yeah, and it really doesn't have to include all the things we think people might be interested in, Keep it to the basics, and then if you want to put that other stuff in, yeah, you can put that back where they've got to drill down a little bit, but the basics really need to be within the first couple clicks, or else they're out.
Right.
Yeah. Show, don't tell, and that's the same thing.
Right.
So just make it super obvious on that front page who you are, what you're about, how they can find you.
Right.
That's the critical point. If you only have someone for 5 seconds, which we know it's less than that,
Right.
but make sure they can get every piece of that. And I would say that's way more important than having the elaborate websites that have a blog and, all of that you can develop in time as you progress through this. But just having warm, friendly faces on a front page with your service time and location is a perfect starting
Mhm.
point. The rest is icing on the cake.
Yep.
You can now design a QR code that will take you directly to that event page.
Yes.
One click and you're there.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for people to just scan it with their phone.
And
Right.
QR codes used to be way difficult. They are so much easier now. Ken is happy to walk you through how to do that because it really is super easy to
You can
have.
use Canva as well.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah. And you could just type in QR code generator in Google, and it'll just pop one up for free. You put in your address, and boom, you have a QR code. And then, so they're quite easy to establish, and they're great. We have them on all our stuff.
All right. We're
All
getting
right.
a signal that time is up, but you guys are awesome. And
Right.